Hi folks, I'm Sean McCormick and welcome to the Lightroom blog channel. It's Photo Friday, so we're going to talk about Alienskin Exposure X3. Hi folks, I've written about this particular application quite a few times for Lightroom magazine with Kelby One and when it was inside Photoshop User as well. So I've written about version 3, version 5, version 7, X2, and of course the current month is actually X3 as well. So this is me getting a chance to do a video form of it as well. While the article has more of a walkthrough in it, this is just going to be an overview. Not even kind of a quick look, but literally just what's in the application and could you use it. So this is going to show you through all of the features that are in it very quickly. No depth to it. I will be doing more videos in the future about that. But in the meantime, let us just jump straight in. So the first thing to note is that it doesn't use a catalog as such. Everything is done through a browser. So we can see looking straight away that we've got some main areas here. We've got a left panel, we've got a right panel, we've got an area in the middle which currently has the grid and also shows the image preview if you double click into an image. So if we double click into this image here, for example, we can see that we've got an image here. Click to drag around this region. I have something turned on here that I don't want, so I'm just going to turn that off, which is bokeh. So that's me zooming in and out there using the mouse scroll, so it's pretty straightforward to zoom in and out. You can click on grid view, or you can also double click to get in and out. So if I click fit, you can see this information flashes up. That's on by default. And one-to-one will zoom in. Now this image is obviously not big enough for a zoom in and out. So if we grab another image like this one here, why does everything have bokeh on it? That's really annoying. So rendering. Okay, and so that's obviously a zoomed in view there at the moment. We can see here from that. If I click fit, it will fit it to the screen. So because this isn't using a browser, all of the previews and stuff that happen, it'll get rendered on the fly. So this machine is reasonably fast, so it's able to keep up with them, so that's not too bad. So below the navigator, we may as well just talk about the left panel because that's the nearest thing to the beginning. We have the histogram. With the histogram, you can edit straight away on the histogram. So you can have your blacks, shadows, exposure, highlights, and whites editable from here. And there's no difference. Everything is here in this view, so you don't have a separate metadata panel for editing keywords and things like that. That's all done as part of this. So the heart of this for getting around is obviously the folders panel, because that is where you basically access your images. Now this drive wasn't here originally. I had to click on this plus to go add a new bookmark, and that let me browse to the drive and select it. And the other thing we have here is we have this little icon for add subfolders, just to let you view subfolders to let you know that's there. So you can see this is a 4 terabyte drive that's nearly full, which means it'll be time to get a new one soon. And we also have collections. So collections are obviously virtual folders, and you can have images in as many as you want. This one here is set up as the quick collection. It's very easy to make any image the quick collection. You right click on it and go quick collection, and it'll have this little star beside it. And so click on that one to make it the quick collection. And I'm just going to check that you can jump to folder from here. Yes, you can jump to folder. And so if I wanted to add something to the quick collection, as it is here, if I just press the L key, that will basically, or that one's already in there, so that was removed. So press L to bring it back in again. So let's say we want to choose something further down from the set. So let's say we wanted to grab, say, this one here, and I just press L, that will also get added. So if we now go to the collection, we can see they've been added to the collection. So below that, we have presets. Actually, let me just slide down to make sure there's nothing else there. Yes. Below that, we have presets. Okay. Now, the presets are probably the heart of Exposure. Exposure started off as a film emulation plugin. So obviously it has all of these film emulations. So here we have color film prints. We have like things like Fuji Pro. Now these are tiny. So you can switch between views. You can have lines. You can have them as long single ones. You can have them as 2 across or 3 across. But you can also drag here, and that will give you more views of them, or larger views of them. So that way you get a bigger preview of the actual preset. You're not restricted to something really, really small up in the corner. course you can drop it back again. And you can also, I think, do things like add your own presets and stuff like that, or your own favorites rather. So let me just close this down here for a second. A few of them are open at the moment. You also, very quickly, you have these portrait touch-up stuff as well, which is new, and they set up layers over here, which let you actually start doing some touch-ups as well. That's something that I'll cover at another stage. Below that you have the history, which is all the stuff that's been done to the image. So I've been messing around a lot with this image here as well, even though I reset it a little bit ago. But you can see that that history information is there, and you can also clear that history information as well. So in the actual center image area in the grid itself, we can see that we can zoom inside the thumbnail sizes. We can see breadcrumbs to see where we are and how many images are in it. Okay. At the bottom you have filters. So you can save preset filters as well. So there's no smart collections, but you can still have preset filters saved, and that will combine the stuff you have here. So you can filter with keywords and sets and things like that. And obviously, so with the filter by metadata, you can save those to find specific images over the whole lot. It's basic, but it works. Now the right panel, very quickly, we have layers, so you can build up layers of stuff. So you're not limited to just working on one layer. So that means you can do some of the controls that are here on one layer and then choose to mask it off, which is very, very handy. The overall intensity will bring it down the whole layer stack on top, and that's very, very handy if you just want to have a little effect on top. So let's jump up to the top here. We have the basic panel, which is very, very similar to Lightroom, so there's no point in jumping into those. Sharpening into detail and noise reduction are similar enough. The ideas in it are similar enough. It's called brightness here. It's the same as luminance. A few little bit less controls than you have. There's contrast controls in Lightroom that you don't have here. But other than that, they operate in a very, very similar fashion. Color is a little bit different. The color filter lets you add a color filter literally over the image. So you can have a warming filter, for example. And just double click into that so you can see it. And of course you can choose the density, which is the opacity basically of it. So let me just turn it off. You got to preserve brightness as well so that it doesn't make it lighter or darker when you add the colors to it. Color saturation works in a similar way to the HSL panel in that it's just the saturation part of the HSL. You got the 8 sliders for that, but you also have the option to control them in the shadows, midtones and highlights separately. So I could completely desaturate the shadow areas, for example, here, or I could like boost the saturation in the highlights, and we can see these areas here got a little bit more saturated. Double click to reset. We have a tone curve. Again, we can like choose areas here with it, and we can just basically grab points. So if we wanted to do something kind of matte filter effect, we can do that as well. And you can also add color effects as well, so we can increase the red in the image, for example. So that's just to show you that. So just click neutral again. There's a split toning, which is slightly different, and the idea with split toning is that here you select the color that you want and the strength of it, and then you can choose like the areas that it affects, and with the highlight tone as well, so that's how far down it's going to affect as well. So let me just color 1, color 2, and just turn them off there for a second. Below this we have vignette. Again, vignette's very similar to Lightroom. The amount, the size, round, softness, and the distortion is a bit different. So let me just show you something in that very quickly. I'm going to bring the softness the whole way down, and I'm going to change the size just so it brings it more to the center, so we can see what's going on. So you can use the vignette location. I'm just going to stick it in the middle so we can see the edges better. And I'm actually after zooming in there with the scrolling on the mouse. And so if we choose distortion, that will distort the edge of it. So we can see that it's no longer as round as it was. And then by changing the lump size, you can change where those positions are so that you've got a bit more control. And then the random seed as well adds a little bit more variation in what the actual thing does. But that's based on having the distortion up pretty high. Just to show you that it's different than Lightroom. Again, something very different than Lightroom is these overlays. So you can have borders, light effects, and textures. So the border there's a grunge border comes up, but we could have something like say Polaroid type 55 or something like that, just as an example. And of course then you can zoom it so it goes out, and you can change the opacity on it as well if you want. These let you shuffle through them or flip them or invert them. So you can invert it there, for example. Light effect is the same kind of idea. I'm going to turn off the border so that we can see the light effect better. So it gives you this light leak in the corner. There's more light effects than that. It's not just light leaks. If we click here, we can see that we have stuff like this kind of corner. I should really turn off the vignette there, so I'm just going to turn off the panel for a second. So you got a light in the center, where you could have this blue coming from the side, and you can control the zoom, and you can control the blend mode as well, obviously. Again, same story here. Let me just turn off the light effect so we can see what's going on with textures. So you can add like dust. Now obviously I've got snow in there as well, so it's going to be hard to see dust. So let me look at something like image wash. So I'll throw an image wash on so we can see that we've got these textures inside here. So that's very, very handy. And of course, I should just mention as well as the fact that you can choose textures, is that you can also import your own textures as well. Right, focus. Focus lets you sharpen. Basically, it's different than what's going on in the detail panel. Where have we gone? Lost it. But it's just a different type of sharpening, basically. Blur obviously does what it says. These can be handy when used with masks as well, so you can just sharpen particular areas or blur particular areas if you want. Grain is a bit more variety than you have with Lightroom. So as you can see, you can have it in the shadow midtones and the highlights separately. And you've got an emulation of push processing, for example, as well. Just going to add some grain there. From there we have infrared, which is kind of giving you infrared kind of halation effect. So that'll give you kind of this, a glow kind of, and then the spread is how far the glow kind of spreads out. If we turn this on and off, we can see the difference that makes really, really obviously. So it does make it quite a nice glow in there as well. Bokeh is a lens, basically an emulation. So it's a blur for a lens blur. So let me say choose this gradient one. Let me just knock the opacity of the halation off altogether so there's none. And so what I can do is by bringing up a mount, even if we're just subtle, we can see here that we've got this fade of the actual lens blur, and of course we can move that over the eyes if we want. But there's stuff we can do with it, and we can change what kind of blades are used. So you can have a half-shaped blade, and if you want, you can create a zoom effect with it as well. The zoom effect probably looks, oh no, we can see it there. See the way you're getting this kind of change here? That's from the zoom effect, so you can make it curvy and things like that. So that's just to show you what's going on there. So you can control what's happening with the highlights as well and create a boost, and you can also then match the grain that's in the image with the actual lens blur itself. Very quickly then onto lens corrections. So we can see this is turned off. It's detected the lens I've used here is a 35mm. Click on, so that will then apply that lens correction. It doesn't have the 23mm f2, which was the other lens that I used in the shoot, so I can't apply that one. So they haven't created it yet, basically. And then in metadata, you can add all of this metadata information here, and of course you can also add keywords. So with keywords, you can also then go check through the keyword library, and then you can create a keyword set. So if I take all, so these are all of the keywords that are in the library that it's detected so far, and you can create sets of keywords that you can then drag other keywords to the set to basically build them up. So that is pretty much what's in the layout. You can also do, you also obviously have preferences. So in preferences you can choose things like where's your user folder, things like show, hover, help, all of this kind of stuff as well. So performance, your caches, you can control where your panels are. You're not limited to the defaults, and you can edit all of the controls, your preview stuff, what's shown with the preview. Remember I said you could show it? Well, it's showed here, show it briefly, so you can show it or hide it as well. I have it just set to briefly. Some of the export stuff here, so these are export profiles. So these are information that's already set up as your export presets. And external editors were you know, how it handles stuff. And then you can also then paste as well. So the paste previous is if you click this previous button, it'll paste the settings from the previous image. It's just defining what's done. Very quickly with export then. So you've got an export option here. So you can choose where it's going, how it's named, what type of file it's going to be, whether or not you've got a watermark which you can then edit. And the thing about the watermarks here is that you're not, let's say, can we choose a preset, copyright? So that's got something in there already. But I can choose to add watermark items, so I could have an additional watermark. So I'm not just restricted to one watermark in one place. And then of course you can resize on export as well. Hi folks, I hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, I will be doing more videos detailing more of this stuff in the future. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, hit the notification bell if you'd like to get notified of new videos coming online. Folks, thank you for taking the time to watch this, and I will see you in the next video.